We have announced here a little bit later this morning as the special guest of the Brownwood Kiwanis Club at the Brownwood Country Club. Good morning.
Good morning, Celinda. Good morning, everybody, and to everybody listening in Brown County and the surrounding areas. And beautiful West Texas morning.
We are trying to thaw out. There's still ice on the road, so be careful as you make your way here. I wanted to start off with a couple of questions that are top of mind for a lot of people. Minneapolis has been in the news, of course, and with the shooting deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. And now 2 DHS officers have been placed on leave. Initially, no investigations were announced, but now legislators are calling for investigations. Do you support that?
Well, let's just start with how tragic it is for the loss of life of anyone. And, obviously Alex Preddy and Renee Good, it's tragic to get to this point in our country. So let me take a minute to kind of explain the way I feel about this. Every law enforcement agency out there, it doesn't matter if it's a police department, local police department, or if it's a sheriff's office, DPS, or federal agencies, anytime they have an incident, anytime they run an operation or do something, they always debrief. They're always looking to refine their procedures to make it better. So the good, the bad, the ugly, they're always looking at that. And, my assumption going into every operation out there is that the law enforcement agencies are 100% following the law that's on the books, that they are enforcing the laws as the executive branch is responsible for doing, as the laws. So we can start there. This collision course, it's been a long time coming. I mean, it really started with sanctuary cities, with these states and these cities saying, we're not going to enforce federal laws. That wasn't yesterday. That didn't happen, a couple of months ago. That happened years ago. And it created this situation where it put federal law enforcement agents in a really, really dangerous situation, pitted against local politicians, mayors, specifically of blue cities like San Francisco, Chicago, Minneapolis, etc., in a very dangerous situation. Then you could look at this situation and you can see what the mayor of Minneapolis said when he used a 4-letter word to describe what he thought of ICE and to tell them to get out of there. The governor, Tim Walz, who we know is lacking in character in 3 different areas, said that Minneapolis and Minnesota residents should go out and stand in the way of anything that was illegal. Well, the assumption again is that they are enforcing the laws, the legal laws that are on the books. So they have created this situation. So absolutely, I want to see an investigation. And that investigation should ask the question of what the mayor told the local police department in Minneapolis to do. Did he pull back their support for crowd control? Did he pull back their ability to help protect those federal agents? Did he tell the residents to stand in the way? What's the difference between Minneapolis and Brownwood? Let's just say Dallas, too. I mean, a big city here in Texas. What's the difference between the operations of ICE agents in all these other places? So you bet I want to see an investigation, and it's probably not what you think. It's an investigation that looks into the whole picture of how we got here. Now, saying that, in Congress on the 10th of February, so just a couple of weeks away, we are going to have DHS come and talk to us. And these are the kinds of questions that I am going to ask them. Tell me about the situation in Minneapolis. Tell me, are there professional paid-for agitators that are causing chaos? Was Alex Preddy one of those professionals? Was he coerced or co-opted to stand in the way? Were they blocking traffic? We've seen some videos of him kicking out the taillights. I mean, that's a separate incident potentially, but these are the kinds of things that I want to know. What led to this collision course? And most importantly, how can we de-escalate this situation and still enforce the law and still be a country that lives according to law and order? Because under Joe Biden, we had 10 million people come across illegally. That is not enforcing the laws. That is chaos. Where was the investigation on that? Where was the far left cry for the investigation of millions of people coming across. So you bet, fair is fair. Let's investigate everything, but let's do it transparently.
Well, what do you say when someone tells you that, we've heard that perhaps President Obama deported more people, more individuals than have been deported so far here, but perhaps
that's not a perhaps. That's a fact.
Well,
that's
I know
a,
I'm not. That's
okay.
That's part of my question is, but I know that that's true. But it was done a different way. Some people say that it was done with procedure, policy and procedure, and all of that sort of thing, and so that the ICE individuals are causing the chaos. What do you say to people that say that?
Well, the facts are true. Obama was the chief deporter. In the famous incident when Trump became president in 2017, where they accused him of putting kids in cages, nonsense. President Obama was the one who started the separation of families, making sure that they could protect children, and Trump carried that on, and they spun it like this. So this is exactly the kind of hypocrisy that we see, where President Obama did deport people. And you can look all the way back. I mean, there's thousands of clips publicly stating, from Obama to Biden to Clinton to all of them, saying that we should have law and order and we should deport. And then they come up with these sanctuary cities and they try to pit people against the preemptive federal law. So what I say to them is, come to the table with a realistic and non-hypocritical mentality. Let's get to a solution here where we don't have known terrorists or gang members or dangerous and violent criminals in our country, and let's get back to law and order.
The guy the Hallman, I believe, is the guy's name that's the head of the ICE operations right now. He was Obama's guy.
Yeah,
it's the same guy. It's the same guy that's the head of the organization. So the difference was there wasn't this mass bring a bunch of strangers out of their houses that don't have jobs or whatever to go protest and stop the stuff. And ICE guys could go get who they needed to go get when they went to go get them, without having to have cover from the local cops. And if they needed it, they got it. Minneapolis cops have been told, don't show up. If all hell breaks loose out there, you guys sit back. That's a fact, too. And that's how these riots take place.
That is exactly what we need to investigate. So when the left is trying to say, well, the Republicans now are standing in the way of President Trump, no, we're not. What we want is we want the facts to come out. We want to know what they've told their local police department, because I guarantee you that those policemen, the officers in Minneapolis, they are put into a terrible situation as well, because they know good and well that they're not protecting their federal brothers and sisters and doing the job that they should be doing. Border Patrol is not a crowd control organization. They are there to secure the border, to get the criminals out of our country, and to enforce, as ICE agents, to enforce the deportation of those who are here illegally. So you're exactly right, and this is the hypocrisy that I see. Yes, it is tragic that we lost a life, but this train, this collision course, this action was set in motion years ago, starting with sanctuary cities, and then has resulted in the inflammatory comments by the mayor of Minneapolis and by the governor of Minnesota have incited the anger and the passion. So what people see is a snapshot in time. They see one video on Saturday, when in reality this started years before and has culminated in the last 6 weeks with these protests that, by the way, are not covered under free speech. They are well beyond the peaceably assembling. Do you think that we could have a protest in downtown Brownwood where we close down the streets, where people were in the streets, closing down traffic, preventing emergency vehicles from coming through, preventing DPS and other federal agencies from having passage through the streets? No way. There is no way that local leadership, local government, and local law enforcement would let that happen. They would do their jobs to disperse the crowd, to tell them you have one choice. You can stand over there and not obstruct traffic and not obstruct law enforcement operations and protest with your signs, or you can go home. That's it.
Stay out
and they're not doing that in Minnesota.
Stay out of churches. Don't go in there on Sunday worship time. And the other thing that's odd to me is there's 50 states. It's going on all over the country. This isn't happening all over the country, though. There's not riots all over the country. There's only riots where the hotbed is. It's that politicians can stand there and stir up the masses, and this is a ploy to make the midterms go the way they want them to go. Just like they burned down the cities in the summer of love because an election was coming up. Those people are getting played by politicians because there's an election coming up as much as anything else. That's my angle on it. I'll be quiet.
Well, that's exactly right. And it's real leaders de-escalate situations. Real leaders look for solutions and de-escalate. We've all been there. We've all been in the heated conversations. I've had them in town halls before, and you look to de-escalate. You look to say, where's the common ground that we can find that we can talk about here? And that's exactly the opposite of what the governor and the mayor did. And they've incited these passions, and it's wrong. And so when you say, do we need an investigation? You bet we need an investigation. And we need to look into the facts of what they told local law enforcement and how they've incited this. Not to mention, what happened with Alex Preddy. And they will do that. They will look at that, and they will see. I was talking to some local law enforcement yesterday at a town hall in Ballinger. I'm sorry about that. In Ballinger, and I asked the police officers in the sheriff's department. I said, when somebody brings a weapon to a protest and then they're in an altercation, tell me what happens when that weapon. When does that become a lethal threat to you? And basically, when that weapon is brandished or when they're in a physical altercation with a law enforcement agent, when the weapon is brandished or when the weapon is reached for, it is assumed that weapon is going to be used to kill a law enforcement agent. And that's that's the ugly truth of these things, is that when you get to the point where it's beyond peaceably assembling, then you're in a really dangerous situation. Everybody is in danger. And if you bring a gas mask to a protest, you are expecting trouble. That is a fact. You're expecting it to go beyond peaceably assembling. So we need these leaders there, Waltz and the mayor and these guys, to stop inciting this anger, find a solution, de-escalate the situation. And by the way, we as Congress, and we've tried to do this, we need to continue to do this. We need to get rid of these sanctuary cities, because that sets the condition to let people think locally that they don't have to follow federal law, and that is not what our Constitution says. Our Constitution says that those federal laws preempt the state laws. States can do something more conservative, more restrictive, but they can't go the opposite way.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And since our time is kind of limited here, I wanted to ask you about some of the other topics that you may be touching upon when you're at the country club today.
In addition to this topic, which has taken a lot of time this morning for this conversation, but we have got so many good policies that we are pushing in, really leading on all these issues. As the chairman of the Republican Study Committee, we're going to be talking about these in the next couple of weeks. I meet with the Speaker Mike Johnson, on a regular basis, and we have proposed a group of bills into a larger package of legislation that is called Making the American Dream Affordable Again. And I want to talk to the Kiwanis Club about this, because it affects every single American. As we get into tax season right now, we know that what we passed last July is going to help every single person in Brownwood, in Brown County, in Texas, because you're going to get more money back into your pockets. And we want to go further from what we did to pass the largest tax cut in American history last year. We want to go further and think creatively about how to stop the insurance companies from stealing money out of our pockets. Instead, let's get that money to you so you have a choice on your health care, so that you have transparency and knowledge of what you're doing when you buy prescription drugs, so that you know for a fact that you're getting the best possible price and you're not getting ripped off, and that money's not going to an insurance company. And on housing, we're thinking really creatively. You might be surprised to know that the average age of a first-time home buyer is 41 years old in this country. And that's way too old for people to live the American dream, raise a family, and do what our parents did and grandparents did. So we want to get back to the ability for every single person to get a job, to raise their families, and for it not to be so expensive, and where government can interact. We're not into setting markets, but we're into setting conditions that give you competitiveness, transparency, and lower prices. So there's a lot going on. Stay tuned. We're going to continue to deliver the news to you on what we're doing. But I'm proud to be leading this on behalf of the Republican Study Committee. But I always think back to this district that I represent, the 20 counties from Odessa all the way to Killeen. It's going to change a little bit and go to Austin in this coming cycle. But I think back to the hardworking men and women and the families that they're raising. And when I cast my votes and when I initiate legislation or when I lead different things in Congress, it always starts with this district and how it benefits us. And I love this district because it really is the best in the entire country.
Congressman August Pfluger, as always, thank you so much for being with us today. And be safe driving.
Well, thank you. I look forward to being in Brownwood, and God bless everybody.